Well, as we saw from Hex, Hex was a bit decorrelated from Bitcoin for a little while since it launched in the bear market. But slowly over time, I think now it's a bit more correlated with Bitcoin, and so I think we might see the same thing with Pulse and PulseX. Maybe yeah, I guess it depends on the timing of the launch relative to where we are in the market cycles. But yeah, yeah, I'm
I, I
not
guess what is the
terribly
case
certain.
for it being
Yeah.
decorrelated, and what's the case for it not being?
Hmm. Mm, uh, well, I guess it depends on some of the more bearish events that Bitcoin has in store for it, and if those things happen uh, concurrently with launch. Because I think since Pulse and PulseX are deflationary, that there's not going to be any deflation, or there's not going to be any inflation, and it just deflates right when right when it goes live. Um,
Hmm.
I think it has a lot of potential to pump right out the gate. Maybe after the first wave of sellers selling it out. But with in terms of Bitcoin, it has there's still events that are kind of bearish for it that have yet to happen. Like for example, like the Mt. Gox coins are coming out or are supposed to come out, and it's reasonable to assume that some people are going to sell off their stash. Um, I think the Department of Justice has some seized coins that they need to sell to, so that's more sell pressure, and it's just stuff, just little stuff like that can kind of make those assets go in opposite directions for a little while, and then maybe over time they'll kind of correlate the same way that Hex and Bitcoin do now. But yeah, see.
Could our ecosystem, especially when PulseChain launches, could that
Hmm.
ignite something that could we see, maybe not the broader bear market turnover and at least start going sideways? Of course, not flipping into bull. It's not a hockey stick, but not even the broader market. But could you see the Richard Hart ecosystem, maybe some of the community projects, derivatives, of course, stuff like that? Could you see them becoming decorrelated, or we have like a mini bull market, a mini bull run within the bear market in our community when
Hmm.
PulseChain launches?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a tough one. I guess it depends also on on how much adoption we get from the outside. Because um, yeah, like Hex was heavily censored. Obviously, as you remember too, when it came out, and we kind of got attacked from all sides, and so I think um we got less than 3% of Bitcoin, all Bitcoin free claims that was claimable. So um that I think was a little, at least for me, a little disappointing. I wish that there had been more adoption from Bitcoiners,
Right.
and I think that if if crypto news outlets and big all of the big celebrities in crypto decide to kind of like speak against us and FUD us and gatekeep us, this like PulseChain and PulseX, the same way that they did Hex. I think that I don't know, maybe there is a possibility that they could do a similar amount of damage, and that we probably won't get as much as adoption early on as we had hoped for. But at the same time, I think that maybe that might not happen because Hex as an ERC20, it was and still is pretty difficult for people to understand because it's that whole blockchain CD thing, and what the way
Yeah.
the staking and shares system works. It still goes over a lot of people's heads, but it's a lot easier to explain Pulse and PulseX because you can just make the analogy that it's similar to Ethereum and Uniswap, and so people I think people in crypto inherently understand exchanges and blockchains, more than a niche ERC20 token like Hex. So from that perspective, I think we could get adoption a lot faster, and I think there will be a lot less gatekeeping, and so from that point perspective, I think we could get a surge that kind of counteracts the overall all bear market if it's still continuing at the time. So yeah.
Yeah, that's I think something, and I'm trying not to be biased in this because we're both in the community, we understand how important this launch is, and but we are still a fraction of the broader ecosystem. I'm trying to keep that in mind when talking about it, but at the same time, it just seems like this event, maybe it could be the catalyst for us to have a bull run. Maybe there won't be a dump after the first day or the first week of launch. Maybe it just keeps going up for a while. Eventually it cycles and it goes up and down. But wouldn't that be wouldn't that be fitting for a community? Our community is this tight knit group of people for pumpamentals. Could we do it? Could we manifest that to happen in a bear market, a brutal bear market, the bottom of it, perhaps, if PulseChain launches then?
I think so, because it worked out that way the first time with Hex, and we specifically had people coming into the community because they noticed that Hex was pumping and was green when everything else was dying, and we got some of our strongest hexagons from that sort of juxtaposition of the price action that was happening, and so that could definitely happen again with PulseChain, and I think that would garner a lot of attention because there's so many different blockchains out there, but they more or less perform the same, and a lot of them don't even have that much activity on them. So if they see lots of activity happening and lots of green candles forming on PulseChain, I think that will definitely be something that grabs people's attention and cause people to start flocking over. So
that's what I'm hoping too, that we get people who are, especially if they're in traditional finance and just sort of crypto curious, they look over, they say, oh wow, look at this PulseChain thing, look at Hex, look at the things, if they happen to be pumping around that time, and they say, whoa, is this, we're at the bottom of the bear market, these things are going up, do they watch it, do they get in, at least they're interested. So again, the marketing aspect of it is important. What about the documentary? Like how big a role do you think it'll play, around PulseChain launch, before, after, and then kind of, I guess, building on that narrative of maybe having a mini bull run in the bear market?
Documentary I think is it's going to be pretty huge. I don't know. I don't really have enough information to know like where they are with the I know that they're probably shopping it around and trying to see if they can get Netflix to buy it. Though I heard that there's some challenges with that because they're a little more on the woke side, and they like
Richard's not so woke.
Yeah, exactly. So I think if anything they might come up with there might be a little resistance there, and so I think that might be a challenge for them. And definitely, I think that Netflix is still where it would get the most eyeballs. But I'd be happy if it ended up on Amazon Prime or Hulu or some other major
Discovery Plus. I'd be happy with that.
Yeah. Anything to get the word out there, and God,
I hope they interviewed Tiger King. Hope they went there and was like, hey, Tiger King, meet Richard Hart, and just have a 5-minute conversation, just so you could say Tiger King's in the movie too.
Yeah,
that'd be funny.
Funny enough, I think Maddie Allen did buy a cameo from what's his wife's name? Carol Baskin. Yeah.
Oh yeah. His wife or his nemesis?
His nemesis. Yeah.
Say. That would be funny if they were married. But wow. Yeah. I guess. I mean, she's probably the one that's more available, for better or for worse, right now.
Yeah.
Tiger King, good guy.